Well, hello everyone. Thank you so much for stopping by at G Crochet Off the Hook. I'm G Geraldine, sharing my love of crochet. And I really do love many things crochet, including amigurumi. My amigurumi for 2026 has been about this much, and I'm not quite sure what the reasoning is for it, or perhaps I know only too well. First of all, what does sometimes make us stop making something? And that for me is usually when my craft area or storage space becomes overwhelming. And that means that there are maybe one too many things that have been stored away. And then my thought pattern of making something before I actually even get excited about making it is more like, where am I going to put that? Or what is the purpose for that specific thing? It's not just about wanting to crochet something because I feel like crocheting it. And believe me, there are many amigurumi projects over the years that I enjoy getting stuck into just for the fun of making it. But having space for all of it does usually slow me down. And I think that is what has happened the beginning of this year. You see, I do not crochet orders. I do sell of my amigurumis that I make, but they are ready made. So if you see something and you love it, then I have people that regularly buy for specific events that are happening in their lives directly from me, or on very special occasions I do perhaps make an order. But the note of creativity is totally left up to me. I did once upon a time go down the route of trying to fulfill orders, and this was all before plushy yarn came along. So I found it very overwhelming to know that I had a specific pattern or I could modify it in a specific way for somebody's request. But then spending all that time back and forth choosing colors, what size did they really want it to be, and then often making something and seeing somebody go, oh, is that what it looks like? Or that's way bigger than I thought. We thought this would be tiny, or the colors haven't quite turned out. Believe me, I've had too many excuses for where I am that really put me off crocheting, specifically amigurumis. And then again, knowing that this is all done with a 2.5 millimeter crochet hook and very thin yarn, it does take time. So I put orders to a stop. And those that do get a very special make from me are usually repeat supporters, and they very much give me carte blanche, which is the best way for me to crochet something. So what happened this year? Well, I'm surrounded by tubs of amigurumi that I have thoroughly enjoyed making during the course of last year. There's one here and there's another one there. As I set up the craft room the beginning of this year, these are very much keepsakes for me, so I don't mind having them around. But I am sorting out a place for these. Now, I donate a lot of what I make once a year to a specific charity that does give makes out to children at specific vulnerable places where they make up little gift baskets for them, and I love to do that. I do also crochet consignment for a shop, but as people have learned more and more how to perhaps read patterns and do crochet activities themselves, they don't always specifically need to purchase a ready-made product, which is fine because the times do change. Why am I mentioning all of that? That is because I do very shortly hope during the course of this year to get back into making some of these very small, intricate little amigurumi characters that I enjoy making, but they do take time. And the first real amigurumi project that I have made is a project that was a wonderful challenge from Pamela at Ginger Cat Crochet, and that was to create your favorite TV character from childhood. And believe me, our family had a field day for a few weeks with this, as my husband and I discussed some of the TV programs that we could remember watching, and quite a few of them the kids didn't know what we were talking about. I really wanted to do Postman Pat because I loved hearing that tune coming on the TV, and I'd rush to go and see what they'd get up to. There was Maya the Bee. There was, what did he mention? Grayskull, Garfield, Canassus. That was very much a South African program. I can't even remember all of those. We really did get quite a list done. Care Bears, Gummy Bears. And then, of course, I know that it's either out or it is out. I know that it's on one of my lists that I do want to watch. I love watching animated movies. And I think there is a new one out, or it's coming out. I'm not always in the know. But I thoroughly enjoyed watching. And if you go back and have a look what it was that we used to see on the telly back then versus what we see now, I still love watching the old TV programs that they used to put up for us, and that is for the Smurfs. And I used to love and have much laughter with Papa Smurf, as he needed to put some of the Smurf villagers in their place. And this was a pattern that I had, I think it's from way back 2012, 2013. The designer was Amigurumi BB. I know that from those patterns I had done a Smurf and Smurfette, but I had never made Papa Smurf. Unfortunately, this pattern's not available anymore. But I still have mine from way back then. I think it was 2012, 2013. So I went about making Papa Smurf, and he has really turned out to be quite a fun fella. Now, to let you know what happens when you're not quite crocheting something all the time, and I haven't been crocheting too many makes with my acrylic yarn and the 2.5mm crochet hook. So there are quite a few pieces on Papa Smurf that I had to redo a few times. One was sizing up his feet. Now, I don't know if you'd be able to see, but I think I crocheted 5 pairs of feet before I got 2 that came out the same size. This is what was happening, is I would make one and the next one would be too small. I'd make another one and that one would be too big. And that is purely because I haven't really sat down and done a number of these specific makes in a while. When I first started amigurumi, that used to happen a lot, but I had gone past that. Evidently not, because there's been a gap of time in between me making these little guys. The next tricky part was remembering how, because his fingers are where you make 1, 2, 3, 4. This one had 4. Each one is exactly the same. There's about 4 in a ring, and then you can attach them all together, and then you crochet the arm going up. What did I do? Yes, I did do that in the end. But these were some of the attempts at trying to get these fingers done, because again, I hadn't done this for quite a while. Anyway, it was still a lot of fun. And very straightforward. He was made from the bottom up to the top, the neck as well. I did sew on the arms. I did make the ears separately and sew them on. His hat is sewed on. His nose is sewed on. I just gave him some little crochet eyes. I tried to make them as big and white as we would usually see them, with a little French knot in the middle there to give his eyeball that bulging look. He needed to let the Smurfs know what it was that they shouldn't have been doing. And then I had a lot of fun with the beard. So oftentimes when we make amigurumi pieces, and we want to change, I have seen people make some furry animals and they just brush the yarn, the fiber that they've used, to create sort of like a fuzz. Well, I crocheted the beard in its entirety. You can see at the back it's a solid crocheted piece. And then I used, and this is not Milo's brush, this is a brush I've had for quite a long time. It's just one of those little brushes that you can get at a pet shop. It's very fine. It's not hard at all. But you don't really want to get your fingers in the way when you are brushing with this, because believe me, that can hurt. And all I did was I brushed out his beard. I shouldn't do it like this now, but on a flat surface, just all this direction, that direction, and it turned that straight flat piece that is underneath there, it turned it into a lovely fuzzy beard. For the eyebrows though, I did take, and I did use a 2.5 millimeter hook for the whole project, and I used my Saprotex Al Yarns Chick DK in the 3 different colors, which was very plain because it's white, it's red, and it's blue. And for the eyebrows though, I hadn't done this in a long time either, and these are things that I would normally do on some of my smaller amigurumi pieces, as those fine little details. I actually miss that. I should really get back to doing those things. Anyway, I just took the actual yarn strands. I think I did about 3, just knotted it, cut it off here. Again, on a flat surface. I have a lovely wooden table. I love my wooden surfaces. Just photographs with natural wooden fibers, and then the textile of yarn with it, going down another rabbit hole. But I have a lovely handy surface that, well, this doesn't really scratch, but that I can really go to town on. And then what I did was I brushed this out, because I don't have all the things, and then we MacGyver it and we make ourselves things. And I made myself little fuzzies that won't happen while I'm doing it, airing it here. But when I'm down, when this is flat down on a table, I'll try and show you though. Anyway, you are able to create yourself little fluffs like this. And that is what I did. And then I would just, let's hope the fan doesn't blow this away. And then I would just lift it up out of my brush. Of course, I do much more than this. I did a nice big chunk, and you just sort of fold it into a rough shape that you wanted. That's what I did. Was I took those fluffies, and then I just took my felting needle and I started dabbing a little arched eyebrow for him. So that was also a lot of fun. And there we have Papa Smurf, as if I was learning amigurumi all over again. And I did only keep these on hand to show you. Otherwise, I would have put them out of my sight so that I didn't remember that this is where I started with it. Then, of course, I have made some amigurumi the beginning of the year. There was 30 keychains that I made. But that was with plush yarn. And to me, that is crocheting slightly different features. And I couldn't resist doing Nook's hook with some of more yarn ends. Here they are. I have quite a few. This is Kismet's Velvet Plush. And I have quite a number of these that I must also decide what it is that I'm going to make with them. As you know, there's already a lot of amigurumi lying around, but perhaps I can find a use for it. And I thoroughly enjoyed making the chubby fish. I did just embroider the eyes, and perhaps these are what I may do, because I have, there's a bag over here. Whoops, that's going to fall. But there are bag ends with these, and I think even if I married up some different colors, even the purple and green, I don't know, might make a cute little chubby fish. And for me, with this one, I used a 4.5 millimeter hook with the Kismet Velvet Plush, which is this one that we have here. This is much thinner than the Elise Voluto. So there we go, I got to make that. And of course, thank goodness, sanity prevailed, because I am still having so much fun with Grumpy Bear. But I didn't even remember to share that in April, Grumpy Bear and Binky Bunny were having a very serious discussion about the Easter parade that they had to put on for everybody else here in the craft room. And I know there is a box of chocolates. I shouldn't share those secrets. This is wicked. But I know they hid a box of chocolates here for me. Some Black Magic chocolates. I did find it. I just haven't opened them yet. There hasn't been time even to have a box of chocolates. It's terrible. But I loved making his Easter Bunny headband that I used with some variegated yarn, and his overalls with his pocket. I just made a teeny tiny little carrot here because of course we know Grumpy is mischievous, and he certainly was. He only wanted to hand out carrots instead of any chocolates. And that is why Binky Bunny has been sitting in the craft room for so long with her ears twisted, just like Grumpy has with his stance. Of course, they've made up, and yes, even Grumpy had some chocolates that he shared with Binky Bunny. And for April, which has swiftly come into view, Grumpy did change his attitude, as here in the south we are in autumn, and even though his expression doesn't show it, he is grumpily happy with his gorgeous garden hat that I made with crocus. Everything with Grumpy is still made with acrylic, Sapotex, owl yarns. Between Charity and Chick are the two that I use for him. And this garden hat, though, I didn't use a 2.5 millimeter hook. I actually did use a 3.5 millimeter hook, but I think it fits wonderfully. And with this pattern for April, because Grumpy Bear is a paid for pattern by Cassandra from Craftably Ever After. And if you're already on that bandwagon, then all it is to sit, as she has generously each month given us some accessories for Grumpy Bear, and you can find those on her Craftably Ever After blog. And believe me, it's almost like having a surprise present every month, and so much fun playtime with our hook and yarn. So Grumpy did some weeding in the garden for me this morning, and he also tried ever so sweetly to pick a few flowers that I need to put in a vase for him. So, and all I did with these though was embellish them a wee bit, put them onto a toothpick, wrapped around the stem with extra yarn, and just use some fabric glue to keep it in place. So those are our amigurumi adventures so far. And hopefully, once I sort out all of this, I'll be able to start on something fresh real soon. Until I see you all again, thank you so much for sharing my love of crochet with me. I hope you're having lots of amigurumi creativity. And until I see you again, smile and enjoy all your crafting adventures. Bye, everyone.